You have yours? You have your microphone?
Folks,
Not as many people here as there was last time.
would you please take your seats, please? The press and the Down Beach Current were notified of this meeting, a special meeting, and a copy of same was posted on the bulletin board in a municipal building and on www.margatenewjersey.com. Can you hear me now, if I get closer? Yes. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay. Would you take a second, turn off electronic equipment, and stand for the flag salute? Attention, salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you call the roll, please? Mr. Becker? Here. Mr. Blumberg?
Here.
Do we call?
She's here. Call her, yeah.
Call Mrs. Tall. She's on the phone.
She's on the phone.
Ms. Talby?
Present. Brenda, you have to say present.
Present.
Okay. The purpose of the meeting, does everybody have an agenda? Okay. I'll get real close. The purpose of this meeting is the discussion of a possible referendum question for the November 4th general election, and also to discuss specifics of moving forward with a legal injunction against the DEP and the Absecon Island Shore Protection Project, the Dunes Project. I will, first I have a statement from Mrs. Tawby, who is on vacation. She asked me to read this. For the record, I'd like everyone to know that I fully support this referendum because I think the cost will be more than the $30,000 or the $200,000 estimated by our outside counsels. Spending money to fight a potential losing battle concerns me, but if the majority of residents support this challenge and expenditure, then I will support it too. I recognize that 64% of residents voted no to moving forward with the shore protection plan, but they did not vote yes to moving forward in a lawsuit against the governor and the state of New Jersey. I think the estimated cost of $30,000 and $200,000 from our two outside counsel is an underestimation. The city's legal fees and the hiring of expert witnesses could cost much more with no guarantees of success. Actually, both of these counsels and our own solicitor state that it's more unlikely than likely that we will be successful. We've done everything we can, and if we continue to move forward fighting this project, our residents deserve to know and must know what is entailed. I'm not comfortable gambling with taxpayer money without them knowing that it will be costly and that we have three opinions stating we will likely not prevail. Remember, the governor/state's executive order is presumed to be valid. The burden of proof is on the city to present clear and convincing evidence that the governor abused his authority. Our citizenry deserves to know that this could be a very costly fight, and they should also be made aware of the negative odds of winning such a lawsuit. To not share this information is, in my opinion, grossly misleading our residents. Respectfully, Brenda Tawby. Yeah. I would like to tell you my own personal, and there seems to be some confusion, so first I want this to be very clear. I believe that Margate's beaches are beautiful as they are. I am personally not in favor of the Dunes project, and I will continue to fight as I have for the last year. I will also tell you that I am in favor of passing a resolution to get an injunction, an immediate injunction, or as quick as we can to get through that process, okay? The referendum in 2013 asked about signing a contract with the state. The people overwhelmingly voted no, and I understand that. At the time, we had no idea the financial implications. Now we do, and it's in my opinion that we must ask the citizens of Margate for their input. If we're going to uphold the will of the people, we should be consistent. It is my hope that this resolution passes today and we accept input from the citizens through referendum. Maury, do you have any comments before?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Maury Blumberg. I am passionately against and will continue to fight to not have these dunes placed on our beach. I, however, am looking this as not a fight, but a challenge to the governor and to the DEP that we want to compromise. We want to talk about a compromise here. Everybody that I talk to says, hey, we'd be happy to take your sand, but we don't want your dunes. The people have already voted. 1,500 people voted and told me, not that I didn't, when I went into that voting booth, I thought I was going into that voting booth to say, you know what, we don't want dunes, in addition to not signing a contract. Now, in that regard, for me, it's about challenging the idea that we live in a democracy and that the state can't just come in here and take our beaches and condemn our property. And for that, I think we owe it to the people that voted against, and even the people that didn't vote against it, that we're going to challenge this. I don't want to fight. I don't want a long, protracted legal battle, but I want them to know that we're not going to agree to allow them to come in here and take our beaches. I'm looking for good faith negotiations, and I'm hoping that we can affect that. I don't know what a referendum is going to tell us. Certainly, it's going to put the town through a battle again that I don't think we need and I don't think that they want. Is it too much money? Is it not enough money? Can we win? Can we not win? But the bottom line is, we think we know we don't want the dunes, or a majority of the people don't want the dunes. So now we've made the fact that we don't want the dunes a political thing, and I don't think it should be. I think the majority of the people will lose confidence in us, Mike, as a commission, if we can't sit up here and make a decision and say, you know what, we're going to try and come to an agreement, the three of us, that we're going to effect a challenge, and that challenge is going to be to try and get to the table to have serious negotiations with the involved parties. And to that end, I would say that every year, for the last 3, or at least 4, we allocate over $3.5 million for capital improvement projects in our city. It's our roads, it's our streets, it's our infrastructure, it's our parks. Well, you know, the beach should be included in that. The beach, in fact, is our #1 crown jewel. It's why people live here, it's why they move here, it's why they build houses here, and we know for a fact, I think we're all in agreement, you just said it, Mike, we love the beaches the way they are. I don't have to tell you again and repeat my personal opinion on what these dunes are going to bring to us. I'm on record in the paper. Every time I talk about, just go to Ventnor and look what the dunes brought them. So in that regard, if next year we say, you know what, we're going to do $3 million worth of projects, and we're going to set aside in escrow $500,000 in case we have to the challenge goes further than we think it's going to go, or hope that it won't go. We now have really sacrificed nothing. We've asked the taxpayers to pay nothing. We've just decided that maybe we're going to forego doing, one street for a year. And so I think that that's an idea that we should absolutely discuss. For me, it's a better idea than a referendum and asking the people and tearing up the town. And again, the goal here, I think, and as you say, and I agree with you, Mike, I will absolutely support a resolution right now that gets us ready for this legal challenge, for filing any temporary injunction, for enlisting a coastal engineer if we need one to help us win that temporary injunction. And I want to conclude by saying sometimes, you have to fight, not because you think you're going to win or you think you're going to lose, but because it's the right thing to do. And I believe that a challenge here is the right thing to do, and that, again, asking the people to vote again in November is more or less redundant as far as I'm concerned. And that's my feeling on it. Thank you.
Any other comment? Nobody else? Have anything to say? We will open for public comment on the resolution to go to referendum. We will keep it to 3 minutes as is usual.
Is it on, Sharon?
Is it on?
Is it on?
No.
No.
There's a button underneath. Just push underneath. There's a button.
No.
Was on.
Testing? There you go.
We're on. Okay. Your name and address, please.
Yep. Bill Cotter, 20 Circle Drive. First, let me say that I am for the dunes, not for any particular reason other than the fact that I think that it will protect the city. I hear these issues over rhetoric, I guess I should say, over issues like the government taking over our beaches. Those things I think all come out during a discussion. If we have a referendum, that's the second thing that I'm for, which is a referendum. I don't see any harm in having a referendum to bring it back before the town to see if the town is now willing to spend that much money. To me, $500,000 is a lot. You could argue that it's allocated out in a different way, but to me, it's an extra $500,000 that could have been used for something other than just spending on fighting the state. The point of it is, I think a referendum does no disservice to anybody in the community other than getting more people involved, more facts out there, eliminating the rhetoric from this as far as the government taking over the beaches. Those types of things just need to be calmed down a little. We get to the facts, we get to the basics of this. I think there are other people out there like me, a lot of people out there like me that see the benefit of the houses being protected. I think even in this referendum, there should be a way to consider even involving those people that don't have a real vote in the town, those people that own a house that are going to be affected by this, but don't have a voting right to the town. How you can accommodate that, I do not know, but I definitely want to be on the record that I think a referendum should be in place here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I just want to point out, I had extra opinion letters out there that they've all gone now, but I'll make more copies. But just to let people know, the opinion said anywhere from $30,000 to $200,000. I have no idea where $500,000 came from.
Bill Potts, 26 North Frontenac Avenue. I am not for nor against a referendum at this point in time. My background, my career was in the financial arena. There's one reality that we all must realize. Cost is a driving factor. This morning's newspaper, front page, tells us, one, we're about to lose 6,000 plus jobs in the county. Two, taxes in Atlantic City are about to go up 30%. We must realize that the decrease in the valuation of the casinos in Atlantic City of 50%, or approximately $11 billion, is going to impact the base in the county on which county costs are going to be distributed over the years to come. We're looking at $30,000 to $200,000 with the possibility of losing the effort and still having to pay for the sand that we're trying to resist doing, while another piece of our tax base, the county segment of cost, are going to increase. There's people in this room who may not be able to afford taxes in the not-too-distant future. And I think our commissioners and those of us that go to the polls need to recognize this fact. It's very emotional. There's people here who want the dunes. There's people here who don't want the dunes. Cost is a driving factor in our lives. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John Sparta, 120 North Madison. I'm not against the referendum, but I believe that it should be upon the city to ensure that all the people in Margate are cognizant of all the facts and all the consequences of this referendum. I think they have to be notified. The last referendum we had, people were ignorant about the whole thing, and it was voted against the dunes. And one of the reasons they voted against the dunes is because they didn't understand and they didn't know the facts. And I think the city has an obligation, if we have this referendum, and I think we should, that everybody know all the details and all the cognizant facts about and the consequences, plus and minus, on the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sumner, am I speaking in it? 5 South Sumner Avenue. I would like to support the gentleman who just...
Talk to the microphone, please.
Okay. I would like to support the gentleman who just spoke. And I would like to say that the dunes were here before Margate was. The dunes are a very natural occurrence. Building has caused the problems. Now we have to deal with it. Dunes have proven to be helpful in hurricane storms. I'm for dunes. The argument of the opposition that I have read most of was cost of replenishment. Well, bulkheads cost money. Bulkheads need upkeep. Pumps need maintenance. They cost money. A suit against the state costs money if it's $20,000, $200,000, $2 million. It is better spent on the safety of Margate and its citizens than a fight against the state. And I think it's up to the commission to compromise and to come up with a solution. It's not up to the citizens. You know the facts and you know what to do. That's your job, not ours. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Lloyd Levinson, 107 South Argyle Avenue. I have no clue why we are discussing another referendum. We're talking about even on the high side, spending a couple $100,000 and dividing that by the tax base, it is negligible amount of money. The voters overwhelmingly voted not to have dunes. You can't, as a body like this, go back to the electorate every time there's a hot button issue. You got to take a stand and make a decision. Do you want to challenge the dunes, as 64% of the people asked you to do? Or do you want to keep going back to them and saying, you may want to change your mind because it's going to cost money to challenge the dunes? We all knew it was going to potentially end up in having to challenge the governor's decision to have dunes all up and down the coast. The point is that I'm an attorney, I'm not involved in this case, but I personally believe we have a very decent shot in light of the fact that that emergency provision that the state is relying upon does not apply 2 years after an emergency. And by the time we get started, it'll be more than 2 years after an emergency. That emergency that existed was one that during a hurricane or about to occur, that instead of the governmental function going on the way it normally is supposed to, the governor's allowed to take action because they don't have time to take the appropriate action, the legal action, when you have a situation that can imperil life, liberty, and your possessions. This was a 100-year storm. We're only 2 years away, and even during that storm, I lived 2 houses from the beach. There wasn't one drop of water, salt water, that came into my house from the ocean. So I don't really understand why we're talking about an emergency resolution from the governor's office. I don't know why we're talking about another referendum. I think you people have to decide whether you want to vote amongst the three of you to challenge and go forward. And at any time when you bring an action, you can withdraw that action. If you lose on a temporary injunction request, you can step aside. It's not going to cost you $200,000 at that stage. You could keep going. The judge often, when you go for an injunction, sort of tips his or her hand to let you know whether they think you have a decent shot at moving forward in the case. So it's not $200,000 as a retainer to a law firm that you're going to lose to begin the case. So my suggestion is that you, in the words of kids nowadays, you suck it up, you vote now to proceed. How you can vote in November after this thing's supposed to start in September, I don't understand that either, because you are absolutely hurting your own case if you do that. I don't know if my 3 minutes are up. I don't know if you keep the time, but
They are.
they are. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Glenn Klotz. I live at 118 North Barclay Avenue in Margate. First, I have a couple questions of the commission and the solicitor.
Glenn,
First off-
this is public comment, Glenn, if you don't mind.
This is a quick question.
Oh.
It's part of my comment, okay? I just want to know, is there a timeline? Has the state given us any idea of a date, a hard date, when they're going to come to Margate and start this project?
No.
Okay, thank you.
At the last meeting we had with the Corps of Engineers, they wanted to start in early September, which obviously we were opposed to. They said maybe late September. As of 2 weeks ago, when the DEP called me and said they wanted to arrange a meeting to talk about drainage, I said, well, let's make the meeting right away. They said, well, they can't because the Corps is not ready. I haven't heard from them since, Glenn, so my guess, strictly a guess, I don't think they're anywhere near ready to proceed at that date.
Okay, so we don't have a hard timeline.
That is-
Thank you. My second question, I think I'm going to direct to the solicitor.
It's a
real quick.
comment, Grant.
Comment, excuse me, comment.
Not a question.
Okay, it's a comment. In your opinion, is the beginning of this project the actual physical construction or the condemnation and the taking of the properties that are in question? There are some properties, from what I understand, that the state wants that haven't been handed over yet, public and private.
You want me to answer?
Do you want to answer?
I believe when they start the condemnation, actually they've started now because they've sent letters out, but they have not actually started the taking process.
Okay,
But that's imminent.
that's imminent.
Yes, I believe it is, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'd like to make a comment about the last election. I think it was pretty clear to everybody in here and all of you what the public had to say. I mean, the vote, it's rare that you see a vote like that, 65, 64% for. So I think that issue is already kind of settled, and I really object to having another referendum on this, because no matter how you word it, that's what it's going to be seen as, okay? You can call it whatever you want about money, but people are just going to see it as another second shot at the bar here. And I don't think it's necessary. I think that given the extraordinary circumstances of that election, where you had the governor of the state step into the middle of an election and say that he was going to disregard it, I think everybody in the city who was paying attention knew that if they voted that they didn't want the project, that there was going to have to be legal action. So I think now it's extremely disingenuous to say, you know, they didn't know what it was going to cost and all this. I think people knew it was going to cost money. At a minimum, they knew that they had quite a battle on their hands. So to have another election about that, especially where we don't even know what the timeline is here. I mean, we could be having an election, theoretically, Mayor, in November with the bulldozers right on the beach. I mean, that's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Why, you know, at this point, it doesn't make any sense. And if what the solicitor is saying is true...
15 seconds.
Okay. Condemnation might already be close. We would have to act very, very quickly if that's the case. I'm against having another referendum. I think it's redundant and ridiculous.
Thank you for your opinion.
I'm Carol Armand, 4 Dolphin Drive. Can't hear me? Okay. Carol Armand, 4 Dolphin Drive. I'm kind of questioning the people in the comment section that said that this is going to cost us so much money. First of all, no one said it's going to cost us. We have no idea how much it's going to cost. We have parameters. But to vote on whether we want to spend the money to defend this, couldn't this set a precedent for everything the city wants to do, or some things the city wants to do? Now we would have to have a referendum to see if we're going to put a new playground in, if we're going to make an addition to the library, if we're going to improve something in the city. We could have meetings about it for 3 years and vote whether we want to do it. Has this ever been done before? I don't know. I don't think so. As far as the gentleman that said that this is going to cost us money, defending this, defending the people's vote is going to cost us money. We spend a lot of money in this city on a lot of things that people don't want. There are things that happen in the city I don't care about, I don't want, but I don't have a vote about it. And once the majority of the people have voted, and the people that couldn't vote because they're not voters in the city but pay a lot of taxes, also had their hearts and souls into not having the dunes, I think because they are taxpayers, they deserve some consideration. They are a big tax base for this city, and without them, the city would not be flourishing the way it is now. So that has to really be considered. The other thing is saying that these dunes will protect the city is just wrong. These people that are saying that they didn't get the facts, most of the people didn't get the facts about the dunes, is really erroneous. It was in the paper for 2 months. It was on television. People were talking about it. You would have to live in a cave if you didn't know what was going on about the dunes, if they weren't informed and couldn't have an informed vote. So I think some of the people are just speaking non-truths, or they've been in caves. But we have spent a lot of money on the city on things, and people never got a vote on it. We voted against the dunes. We voted for our representatives to help us fight this. And I think we deserve some consideration, and we shouldn't be here trying to see whether we should vote again, because everything that comes up, if you have another referendum, people could just start saying, wait, we want to vote on this issue.
Steve Warner, 103 North Sumner Avenue. First of all, I'd like to say that some people have said that I'm a spokesman for the Margate Concerned Citizens Group, and which I am at times, but I'm speaking here on my own personal behalf with nothing to do with the Concerned Citizens Group. I want to make that clear. If I do have any to say based on the Concerned Citizens Group, I'll say that I'm going to do that at that time. I would just like to say that if you're going to use bonded money, bonded indebtedness to go forward with this case, then you have to go to the voters for it. I mean, or there's going to be a petition to put it to a vote, okay? This is no longer a Walsh Act community. Okay, we changed the state law about 2 years ago. And if you're going to go to bonded indebtedness to fight this case, you're going to have to go to a referendum, or there's going to be a petition to stop it. I just want to let you know that. And also, I just would like to say that when you have a legal argument, there's like 3 classes. You can have facts, or you can string facts together, and that's one defense, which I don't see the NIDs having any facts here. Then you have logic, which is stringing ideas together. I'm not seeing the logic. And the only thing that's left is personal attacks, which is what I saw last week on the mayor and Commissioner Torby. A lot of very ugly personal attacks. And I'd just like to finish by saying, I feel great sorrow for the 6,400 people that are about to lose their job in Atlantic City. And I wish them the best going forward, and I hope their lives work out all right. And let me tell you something, they have a real problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ted Manis, South Nassau Avenue. Steve, he used to be John, he's Steve now, just talked about personal attacks. I think the biggest personal attack is not what we've been making, it's what some of the commissioners are making on us. We had the campaign, we voted, it was overwhelming, 2-1. In politics, you don't get 2-1 in anything. And now they're telling us, let's do it again because it wasn't right. It's like having a campaign, having a vote, having a campaign again after you don't like the vote, and then having another vote. Something's wrong. And I think what Mr. Levinson said, I thought the same thing. What kind of emergency has the governor assumed? What emergency powers has he assumed? There was an emergency for 2 days maybe. The emergency is gone. The legislature did not give him the power to pound his chest like King Kong up in Trenton and say, I'm assuming these emergency powers. There may be a hurricane in the next 100 years. Was that the last time we had something like that? No, it was 60 years ago, I think, the March storm.
That's not an emergency power. That's a power grab. There's no emergency. If a storm is coming and he tells everybody to evacuate or whatever, that's an emergency power. He legitimately has that right, I think. But to proclaim forever, I have this power to forecast an emergency? I don't think so. And I think if we don't fight it, we're giving up a bigger principle than being new to one of the commissioners maybe the other night. The bigger principle is democracy. We voted. It was clear as hell. And now we're going to do it again? And as someone said, are we going to have a referendum every time we want to buy a police car? Or build another volleyball net on the beach? Or hire a couple more lifeguards? Or buy a new command and control truck for our fire department? Are we going to have a referendum on each one of those things too? I hope not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jane McGrogan, 22 North Hanover. I would like to know why Wildwood, Manlocan, and Brigantine do not have to comply with this executive order. I mean, why is Margate being singled out that we have to comply? I think, this whole referendum idea is absurd, and let's just get on with it and get it over with and do what we have to do here, what we voted for.
Dan Gottlieb, 407 North Nassau, and unlike Mr. Warner, I do speak on behalf of what I'd like to think are 65% of the voters who we, as an organization, Margate Citizens Questioning the Beach Project, worked very, very hard to try and bring information to the people that I don't believe my job in that organization was to make sure that every piece of information that we put out could not be challenged, that it was accurate. And I feel very confident that we did a very good job of doing that. So anyone who wants to refute anything that we put out, please call me or stop and see me. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. But I want to support Commissioner Blumberg in some of the things he said. And I also want to follow up on what Jane just said, which is Wildwood is a wide beach, and that's an acceptable option, it appears, for the DEP. Margate has some topographical characteristics that may also be acceptable to the DEP. And I think we need to reopen the dialogue between the entire commission, not just a couple people, but the entire commission and maybe even a citizens group, and talk to them with knowledge, not what I say, not what anyone else says. I think if we're going to, I'm not really for filing an injunction right now. I think what we should do, why would we file an injunction without, and Scott has said this, and two other lawyers have said this, that we have a lot against us. We have a lot going against us right now. And I think the only way we can get momentum on our side is to do something that's been talked about for a really long time, but nothing's been done on it. We need a coastal engineer to help us make this argument to the state. Because we're not the experts. We did some research. We know a little bit, but it's not our profession. So I think we need, if we're going to file an injunction, before we even go down the road of spending a nominal amount of money, a de minimis amount of money, why wouldn't we talk to a coastal engineer and find out what chances we have? Lawyers are saying that if we go on legal issues, we don't have a good chance. An engineer might say, we have certain topographical characteristics that support the ability to look at some of these alternatives that I think Maury spoke about initially. And then I'm just going to wrap up with 3 points. Someone mentioned that we're being taxed out of, some people are being taxed out of living here. And it's true. It's very expensive. The taxes here are very high. And we have to be very, very careful about how we expend our dollars. And I want people to know that This is a long-term contract with the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEP. It says 50 years, but I could make an argument that it could be longer than that. And what we did was we did a present value calculation. I'm a financial guy, and another gentleman stood up and said he was a financial guy too, and we have to be very careful of how we move forward. And if we do renourish, and I don't think it's a question of it's optional if we renourish, we're going to have to renourish if we want to have a recreational beach. Because at high tide, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, on a 4th of July Sunday, if there's an 80 to 100-foot structure sitting on the beach, and we've tried to push the ocean back by adding 200 feet of beach, we all know what's going to happen on the first nor'easter. That's going to be swept away, it's going to be down in Wildwood, and we're not going to have any room to sit. So I think it's very, very important that we know that we're going to have to renourish, and that our formula for that is 9%. It cost Ventnor, even though the federal government picked it up the last time around, $7 million. Our formula for that is approximately 9% each renourishment. It's approximately 3 years. We did a calculation. It's very simple. 3% inflation rate, 14 or 15 renourishments over every 3 years. That's 9% of $7 million, that's $630,000, and we calculated that to be with a very nominal 2 or 3% inflation rate between $15 and $20 million. That's a lot of money for Margate taxpayers. I'll get off that subject and I'll move on so I don't go over my
Dan,
time.
you have 15 seconds, Dan. Can you wind it up?
Somebody said that we had dunes here originally, and we did, and that's why this was called a barrier island. We never should have built here to begin with, but guess what? We did. And now we're going to pay tons of money to the Army Corps of Engineers. We're going to give them a huge contract where they've butchered projects all over the country to come in here and watch sand wash away down to Wildwood. I don't think we should have built here to begin with. What we did was we put up bulkheads. All our homes are still standing. They've been standing for as long as I've been here. They will continue to stand, and I don't think this project is necessary, and I don't think we should start an injunction until we have a very, very good opinion from a coastal engineer that we have a case. Finally, and I'll wrap up, the cost, again, over the 50-year cycle will be about $20 million to Margate taxpayers. I think that should be also considered when we talk about costs. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Up in Granite Park South, Sumner Avenue. I'm somewhat confused about the referendum. I believe that the first referendum was non-binding. Am I correct?
Correct.
So now if we have another referendum, that would be a binding referendum. Am I
No.
No, not either?
The one proposed is non-binding also.
Then why are we having it? Why aren't you just compromise, get together, we can have the dunes, we pay taxes for the replenishment, fine. I've paid taxes for schools we didn't need for years. So I am happy to pay taxes for the safety of Margate and its citizens, including myself. If we need bulkheads, let's have bulkheads for the safety of Margate and for its citizens, including myself. Spend money on things that make life safe for Margate and the citizens, not on legal fights and referendums and all that. I thought we had a commission who was running this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck Haven, 10 South Brunswick Avenue. Mr. Mayor, like you, I'm a military guy, and two things that strike me in this debate are, while there's differences in camps on both sides here, at some point you have to boil it down to simple facts, and two things that strike me are, one, you don't always get to pick your battles. We didn't pick this battle. We didn't ask for the dunes. They're trying to jam them on us. So it's a battle that's been thrust on us. Our decision is whether we're going to fight it or not. And In that vein, you have your marching orders, and that's the second part. When you're in the military, you get your marching orders. You could not have more clear marching orders, and the people don't want the dunes, and we want to fight it. Thank you.
Sharon Simon, 424 North Thurlow Avenue, in case you didn't know where I lived. First of all, dunes, bulkheads, seawalls are protection measures. They're really not life-saving measures. And in a big storm, any storm, people are going to be asked to evacuate. So let's not lead people to believe that if we build dunes, it's going to protect their lives and they can stay here in the storm. Second of all, Steve Warner talked about personal attacks. In the letter he signed in the paper, he commented about an attorney who was up here last week with really mean attacks on the mayor and his family, on the library, and some other comments. He was the only person in the room who made any comments like that. And not one person in the room supported his comments. And, thank you. And from what I understand, no one agreed with them. So for Steve Warner to put it in the paper in the way he did is deceptive. And it's like putting in the paper that anti-dune people think we should close our library and that the mayor has people on the payroll that is part of his family. So I want to say that. Second of all, Steve Warner stated that Commissioner Blumberg ran with Von Reel, Dan Campbell, or Sharon Simon, Dan Gottlieb, the Margate Citizens Question the Beach Project group. Now, if anybody knows former Mayor Von Reel, he doesn't let anybody run anything. He runs it himself. And if they've ever heard him speak in a commission meeting over this issue, there's not a great love between Commissioner Blumberg and former Mayor Von Reel, and he stated that. So whenever he has to agree with Moyer, does agree, he says, I hate to agree with Commissioner Blumberg. So that's an actual false statement, and Commissioner Blumberg or any member of this commission would not run a citizens organization. Lastly, well, my other comments are such that, Mayor, I feel like what you say you think trumps what you do. You said you fought for the last year. How have you fought? We, our group, Commissioner Blumberg, citizens, have said to you over and over and over again, sit down with them. Let's have a compromise. What about our drainage issues? You have letters and reports from meetings back in February saying, Commissioner Martin said, I assure you we'll sit down at the table with you. If you have any questions or concerns, get back to us. Nothing. Nothing from the mayor. That's not fighting. We're in the situation now because no one said, look, we want to discuss with you. We want to negotiate with you. Now you want to have a referendum that you know is after the date that they're going to come in or they're starting to do the project. It is your job, I'm going to talk till I'm finished. It is the job of the commission to provide information to the public. When this referendum was put out, you said we need to educate the public. You did nothing to educate the public. That's why MCQBP was formed, because we sat in this room and we said, they're not going to do anything. And you didn't. So the last thing I want to say is, if people want to know why there's a number of $500,000 out there, it's because Commissioner Tobby stated it in a commission meeting, and it was printed. It's going to be in an article coming out in tomorrow's Current, because she wants people to believe that it's $500,000 to fight this, which no legal opinion has given us. It's another scare tactic. So you're having another non-binding referendum, And you don't like this one? We'll have another one. Lastly, you sent a letter to Commissioner Martin, and I don't know who else, 3 people. And you said, my constituents want to know why Wildwood is treated differently than Margate. And you sent a copy of the article. This was in February. Please let me know with all due respect. They never responded. When I asked you about this 2 months ago, you told me to call Commissioner Martin. It's not my job. Thank you.
Well, I just want to comment what was said. Steve Warner, 103 North Sumner. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying I love you, Sharon. Okay? I mean that from my heart. When there was going to be an addition or whatever to for the building department, and the city wanted to spend $500,000 of bonded indebtedness to do that, you got a petition and it was stopped, right? That's right, and I respect that, I do. And if you want to spend $500,000, or I've heard other people say $1 million, I think that's got to go to a vote. Take it for a vote, and I'm good with it. And I said this 2 months ago. If the people in this city want to spend that money to fight the state, I support you 100%. That's all. Thank you.
I guess a lot of people are getting 2 bites at this apple, so I'm just going to take a quick one. I just want to Dan Gottlieb, 407 North Nassau. I just want to reinforce that the 2 legal opinions both urged the city to obtain a report from an outside coastal engineer as quickly as possible. The time was of the essence. So I just want to put that back out there one more time, because I think the people of Margate, if we are going to fight this through an injunction, and I want to repeat that I don't think we should file an injunction until we have a better idea that we have a coastal engineering expert that's standing behind us. Thank you.
This is really quick. Sharon Simon, 424 North Thurlow Avenue. To say that the voters, when they voted, didn't know and didn't want to spend money to fight the state is absolutely ridiculous, because the executive order came out in September. In fact, some people said, why should I vote? Because they're going to make us do it anyway. If you have any person with any amount of intelligence that knows there's an executive order and knows that we have people saying we shouldn't fight and it's going to cost us too much, when they go to vote and say, no, we don't want it, they know there's money involved. So to say that is really disingenuous. Thank you.
Lori Blumberg, 120 North Pembroke. I'd like to address, Mayor, your timeline. If I'm not mistaken, you responded to Mr. Klotz's question in terms of your conversations with the DEP about when they're coming in. Beginning of September, maybe end of September. Why are you proposing a referendum in November? Can you promise the 65% of the voters that said no the first time, now that you want to try and get them to vote a second time and hopefully change the outcome, are you going to tell all of us and promise us that nothing will happen between now and November when we get to vote again? Why are you proposing another referendum when you're telling us that potentially the DEP will be showing up on our beaches in September? I think you owe everyone an answer, and you need to explain to everyone in this room.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Can I address that? As I said before, I think that the government, the DEP and the Corps of Engineers are way behind schedule. If we don't pass this now, we won't be on the ballot in November. The deadline for getting a question on the ballot is it today, tomorrow, or Friday?
Friday.
It's Friday. Okay? So if we don't pass it tonight, it won't get on the ballot. As far as the time frame, that is certainly not up to me. That is up to powers in Trenton and Philadelphia, the Corps of Engineers and the DEP. Okay.
Just so I'm clear, and by the way, that was my wife that spoke, for those of you that don't know that. Mike, if we don't pass, you're saying if we don't pass the resolution to ask the people if they want to vote on the spending of the money tonight, then what?
Then we missed the deadline.
Missed the deadline of asking the people, do they want to spend the money?
We missed the deadline of putting it on the November ballot.
Which then means we, as a commission, will have to make a decision, do we want to challenge or not, correct? If we don't ask the people, do they want to spend the money, then we, as a commission, have to make the decision, do we want to challenge the project?
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to get that clear.
Okay. All right. Joan?
Joan Naden, 8 North Quincy Avenue. I just want to say that I don't know what people have to fear about putting it on the ballot in November. I think the people who are here are certainly part of the group that has been most against the Dune project, but I think there are a lot of other people in the community who are not represented at this meeting, and I don't know what the harm is in putting on the ballot the true costs. I was here at the last commission meeting when Scott Abbott, who is against the dunes, said he has great fears what will happen if we proceed with the fight. The chance of losing up to $1.2 million in state discretionary spending, the chance of losing a grant that we're supposed to be getting of $3 million to raise the bulkheads on the bay, which certainly this group is most in favor of. They keep saying that's where all the flooding comes from. Why are we putting that in jeopardy? What's the harm in putting it on the ballot? Chances are they're not going to start digging out there on the beaches before November, and I just don't understand why we can't put it on the ballot and put it to everybody, not just the people who are here.
Thank you.
Fred Weinstein, 15 South Cedar Grove Avenue. I've been a resident for 20 years. I'm not here to speak about the efficacy of dunes. I leave that to the experts, whether dunes would assist against a tidal wave. However, I'm here to speak about democracy. Public officials do not have the ability or even the authority to simply impose their personal will. About 6 months ago, the week prior to the referendum, one of our prior speakers here, Mr. Warner, publicly got up here and says, referendums and elections are meaningless. Well, the people have spoken. Again, I'm not speaking for or against dunes, I'm speaking on behalf of democracy. And if we do nothing at this point in time, we're validating Mr. Warner's words. Referendums and elections are meaningless. The voters have spoken here. Question: if I go to the beach this weekend with my friends and dig a hole 10 feet deep and 10 feet wide, and in the midst I'm doing that, the lifeguards come and ask me, please stop that. And I don't stop, what's going to happen? The lifeguards are going to call the police. They're going to haul me off. October 1, the Army Corps comes on the beach with its front loaders and is going to be moving tons of dirt. Will we call the police and ask the police to arrest those folks who are moving tons of dirt on the beach? Can someone respond?
I don't think we would have that power to do that.
I'll call the police, Fred.
Again, I'm not speaking on behalf of dunes, I'm speaking on behalf of democracy. And when we talk about the NJDEP, we're talking about Governor Christie, because they do what he asks. This meeting has been publicized. These discussions have been publicized. Why isn't a representative of the governor's office here tonight to explain the process and what they want to do and the plans? I think that demonstrates bad faith on behalf of the state. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last chance. Motion to close public comment.
I don't want to close. Go ahead.
Hold on, somebody else.
I just would like to add to my comments that, honestly, I really don't want this commission to challenge or defend, to be truthful. And I'll tell you the reason why. Even though people have spoken and said that, I think they've said that they want that, honestly, I would love the commission if it was really, its whole heart was in this to do it. But it isn't. The solicitor has his reasons why he doesn't want it to happen. He doesn't want to do it. The mayor equivocates. One of the commissioners is absolutely for the project, heart and soul, has worked hard for it, and I appreciate her honesty. But do I really want to, I have to say to myself, after 14 years of fighting this, do I want to, I've watched this commission for many years. I've seen how these commissions in Margate act when they want something, okay? I would rather have a unanimous commission behind the people's will. I don't see that, and that bothers me. It bothers me a lot, because no matter what you say, if your heart's not in it, you're not going to fight. You know, I'm just going to leave you with this thought. Before he went into battle, the great American warrior, okay, I think it was Sitting Bull or one of them, used to say to his warriors, before battle, he would say, brave hearts, strong hearts to the front, weak hearts and cowards to the rear. And I think that's the situation we have here. We do not have a team up there that wants to fight this. So don't fight it, but have the guts not to fight it instead of all these games and elections. And you didn't want to fight it last year. We told you to fight it, now you don't want to fight it again. Enough.
Richard Miskowski, 9000 Winchester Avenue. I'd like to end this meeting on a happier tone. I was on a beach today, and we have dunes from Rumson past Vendome. The dunes, after all this rain, the back of the dunes were nice and dry. There was no water. There's no trash. The city takes tremendous care of the beaches here. And the dunes lasted through the storm. There's still grass on them. They're only about 12 feet high in some places and 6 feet in others. So the dunes are nice. And I have no feelings whether the dunes would be there or not. I sat to watch the air show today to fly over Margate, and looking back, having the beach chair facing the dunes look nice, and I see nothing wrong with them. And it was nicer than looking at the housetops and the roof sections. So the dunes, I think, are a nice added attraction to them. Pictures always have pictures of dunes when they have beaches. Look at Wildwood beaches. They're flat as anything, flat as the desert. So really, whether we have the dunes or not, I wish the solution would be simple. I think a lot of people didn't vote who wanted the dunes or didn't want the dunes, but figured it doesn't cost us anything. We've never paid for anything. We know the city takes care of them, and they'll probably take care of them after the dunes are there, put by the Corps of Engineers or not, or whether the city will put them up. So I think if it went to a referendum again, probably a lot more people would come out and vote because it's going to hit them in the pocketbook. And this last time it said, do you want dunes or not? I mean, I voted because I always vote. But it really didn't matter to me. My home was, I'm very fortunate, 40 years here and never had a drop through Hugo or through Irene or through Sandy. Direcio was not a hurricane, it was a little wind damage that took my chimney off. But other than that, I mean, I see no yes or no for the dunes. So, but for a number of people who have opinions of it, I think a referendum would maybe solve the solution because more people would come out and vote. A lot of people like me didn't have to vote because it doesn't matter to me whether you have dunes or not on the beach. So I just wish you good luck in whether the referendum succeeds or not. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to speak in defense. I have to speak in defense of the people that have spoken in defense of democracy, and we can't. As this gentleman said, if you don't like something, well, and if you don't care about something, then you don't have to vote. But that doesn't mean now, if you start caring about it, now I demand another vote. We can't do this. You have a vote. If people don't want to come out and vote or didn't get the opportunity to vote, you can't say, hey, it's 6 months later, I should have voted. So this is so wrong. The other thing, and this is my comment, with my tax bill every year, I get a graph, a map of the elevation. And I always look at it. The elevation in most parts of this city are higher along the beachfront than they are in areas in the middle of the island down near Washington Avenue and along the bay. And it's higher. Now, Dan Gottlieb said, can't we compromise? The money that someone said we will not get, some kind of grants for bulkheading, why can't we talk to government officials? Why can't we talk to the state and say, we don't save the money that you're going to put in sand that will be washed away, in dunes that are washed away? Because I live at Huntington Avenue. That dune was destroyed, partially. And whoever said they're beautiful in back of them, come to Huntington Avenue and look at the back of that dune. It's a garbage pit. It's always wet. There are mosquitoes. It's horrible. It's like a sewer back there. Every time we get water, it goes back. It's just awful. But why can't we compromise? Why can't we have the money? Don't take the money for the dunes. Don't take the money for the sand. Put it into bulkheads where the elevation is lower, where the beachfront. Look at those maps.
We've asked that at meetings, and they absolutely refuse. Okay.
Well, maybe we can negotiate with them again if we put pressure on them and put pressure on the government and put pressure on this governor who wants to run for president and let him know that executive orders are not a Republican principle.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to close public comment?
Before we close, Mike, I have a couple more things. I took some notes, and I want to just clear up a few things for the people that are still left. Thank you for staying. And I'm hoping that I'm going to state some facts here. The number one fact is that some 98% of the damage that we saw from Sandy did not come from the beach, from the ocean. It came from the bay, and it came to our bay properties. Our beach block properties were in no way, shape, or form adversely affected compared to the rest of the city and the damage to the rest of the city. And the great hypocrisy here, for me, is, as Mr. Levinson stated, these dunes are designed to protect the beach block people, and the beach block people don't want them. A majority of the beach block people don't want these dunes. We've heard over and over from them that they don't want them, and they're the only people that are going to benefit from them. The rest of the city will see zero benefit from the dunes, and all the rest of the city is going to see is an increase in your tax bill. Because the fact of the matter is, your taxes are going to go up for several reasons. Number one, I can assure you that we are going to foot the bill at some point in time for beach replenishment. And the figures that Danny, the figure I wrote down here before he got up and said $630,000 was $700,000. So it's going to be close to that, and it's going to be every 3 years, and it's going to be for a long time if we want to continue to sit on the beach. And if you don't believe that, you just need to look a little bit back into history when Ventnor lost their beach. There was no replenishment. They had nowhere to sit. The water was breaking up against the dunes. There was no beach, and that is a fact. The second thing that you're going to have to pay for is you're going to have to pay for tax appeals. These beach block people, rightly or wrongly, whether they win or lose, are going to appeal their taxes. We're going to end up paying to fight those appeals. If they win, everybody's going to share in that burden. That's a fact. Third thing, we are going to add money, more than the $200,000 that this challenge, I think, is going to cost us. Way more than that over a 5-year period for maintenance of these dunes. Again, walk to Ventnor. Look at the broken fences. Look at the broken walkways. Look at the trash. We are going to pay to maintain these dunes. The state and the Army Corps isn't going to pay us. They're not going to give us money to do that. They're not going to give us money to rake. They're not going to give us money to alleviate all the ponding that happens between these dunes and the bulkheads. I believe, now this is not a fact, this is my belief, we are going to pay a portion, if these dunes are built, of the design and the implementation of an effective drainage system to keep the water from ponding behind the dunes and between the bulkheads. We've seen nothing from the Army Corps. I have nothing in writing that says they're going to pay for that. We don't have much of anything in writing from them, to be honest with you. And I believe that we're going to pay, and that's an extensive amount of money. Our beach block streets drain to the beach. That water will have to go somewhere. It's also going to have, again, and I don't want to, get too much into this. We're going to have a lot of outfall pipes that you people are not going to like seeing. Nobody's talked about that tonight. But for this water to go somewhere, it's going to go out to the ocean, and we're going to have outfall pipes, and you're going to see them. The fifth and last thing I want to say is that right now, the preliminary plans that I've seen talk about 4 handicap ramps down to the beach. That's not, we have some 40-odd beach block streets. We're going to get 4 ramps that are going to allow handicapped people and people with disabilities to get down to the beach. We're going to have to pay, I think, and/or negotiate additional ramps to make the beach enjoyable for people that now just walk up and down and over the steps. The final thing is that we do, in fact, have a very, very good, strong bulkhead system, and it works. It's worked for over 100 years. It will continue to work. It'll work way better, and the experts say this, that we have a couple of expert reports that say these bulkheads work better than any dunes in a significant storm. And it's been quoted that these dunes will be washed away in between 20 and 45 minutes. We're going to pay a hell of a lot of money for an additional redundant protection that may only last 20 to 45 minutes. And so in that regard, I will close with saying again that I believe that over 1,500 people voted that they didn't want these dunes, 65% of the people that came out, and I don't think and we've heard not just from the same group of people, this is now 2 meetings in a row that we've overwhelmingly heard from people that don't want these dunes, and significant amount of people and different people, and I don't think we need this referendum. And I'm going to close with that.
Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg?
Yes. I just lost her.
We lost her.
Hold on a second. Can you get her back?
Yeah, we just looked.
703. 703-2868. 6.8. Did her battery die?
No, I don't think so. That's fine. Brendan? Yes. Okay. I'm going to just hold the phone, and I think they're getting ready to vote, Mike.
Right?
Are you getting ready to vote?
Yeah, we closed public comment.
Okay, we just closed public comment.
Is she still there?
You know what, the speaker system, that one's me that time. I lost it. I'm sorry. I'm not Fred.
Where is Fred?
703.
703-2868. I can put her on my speaker if we have to. I guess on this system you have to hit the speaker first.
That last one was me. I screwed it up. I gotta make sure you're on speaker before I hang up. Actually, I'm just gonna hold the phone here. I'll put you on speaker. They just closed the public comment.
We ready?
Did she vote on the
Closing the meeting.
Closing comment?
She needs to vote. You need to vote on closing the public comment. She votes yes to close public comment.
Tom, Brenda votes yes to close. Okay.
You can't get it on speaker.
Is she still there?
Are you on speaker now?
Yes.
You're on speaker now. Don't hang up.
All right,
So you vote yes to close?
Yes, I vote to close public comment.
Yeah.
Okay,
She voted
okay.
yes, you can hear her
All right.
voice. Let's move forward.
Okay. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, please, we're now at, I will make a motion to approve the referendum question. It's Resolution 177.
I'll second that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, there's been a motion and second, Brenda.
Vote. Okay, Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg?
I vote no.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
Okay, resolution passed. Our next Resolution 178 is authorize a request for proposal for an attorney to file an injunction against the state.
I'll make that motion, Mike. Mike, and I'd like for us to consider just modifying the language. Scott, if you would, it's a word professional service contracting authorizing legal counsel and a coastal engineer to prepare and file the appropriate legal action. Can we just add there
The
so that
special
there's...
legal counsel
And coastal engineer.
and, why don't you just say expert?
Okay, and expert, that's fine.
Cool.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
I vote yes because we need these proposals to make an informed decision.
She said she votes yes because we need the proposals to make an informed decision.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion and thank everybody for coming.
Second?
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming.
Okay, that's it.
Yes. There's no dollar figure at this time.
Getting proposals, $4.